CPL.ca newsroom for this week. A very eventful week in Canadian soccer that ends, frankly, on a pretty big high. Marty Thompson, Charlie O'Connor-Clark, and we're joined by Al Simpson. Al, professional soccer, CPL is coming to Saskatchewan. And I mean, right now, I guess you're the face of it because it's just started. So obviously that news dropping today on Friday as this podcast comes out. We have a ton of questions, Al. Charlie and I were nerding out just moments ago, but maybe I'll give you the floor here to start. What does it mean to bring professional soccer to Saskatchewan and Saskatoon?
Well, as you might expect, we're very excited to have signed an agreement in principle with CPL to be able to bring the Canadian Premier League to Saskatoon. And we look forward to working with folks in Saskatoon and the great group of soccer supporters, Bridge City Firm, the Wheat Pool in Saskatoon, and a bunch of others. There's a real foundation in Saskatoon of soccer supporters who we're going to count on to help us get this launched and get a team on the pitch in Saskatoon. So overall, a great thing for Saskatoon, a wonderful thing for Saskatchewan. And our next step, obviously, is to get to work on a place to play.
Yeah, and we will certainly be getting to that in a sec. But I think before we do, just for people who don't know, do you think you could just give us a bit of your own background, kind of how this all came about? I mean, I unfortunately have to admit I don't really know who you are.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm born and raised in Saskatchewan, lived here all my life. I've done a few interesting things in business that I've met with some, I guess I'll say, moderate success. And always been a sports fan, not so much soccer specific, but just generally enjoyed all sports. And one of the things that sort of has been lacking in Saskatchewan forever is the, I guess what I would call the vision for kids who are playing soccer recreationally here at the club level to really be able to aspire in a meaningful way to playing it at a professional level. When I was growing up, I played hockey, I played football, I loved them both. And if I wasn't playing hockey on a Saturday night, I was watching Hockey Night in Canada. And so I could develop the dream, as could many kids, to aspire to play at a professional level. And so you had that with NHL hockey. Of course, this is the Rider Nation, and Saskatchewan Rough Rider football here is pretty dominant. And so you could have the dream of playing pro football just because of the Riders, but never that ability to be able to step your way through as a kid and say, this is how I can get to the pro soccer level, especially in Saskatchewan and more so in Canada. So I was just drawn to the fact that there seemed to be a real opportunity and a gap. And as I followed what CPL was doing, I felt that it was a great opportunity for something to happen in Saskatchewan. And so contacted CPL, and things started to progress, and here we are today. So a general sports fan, and enjoy watching soccer or football, and hope it will be successful here in Saskatchewan.
Alan, I gotta admit, I hate these interviews because this could last for 4 hours, and I know because I know the people listening to this, there's tons of questions. We were just talking off air. This was completely silent. You guys, there was no inkling that this was coming. And right. I think, frankly, when we heard it, caught off guard, but obviously in the best way. So maybe my question to you is, walk us through this process, because, there's a lot to learn. So where did you come? Where did you come from in this process? How long did it take? As many details as you can. People want to know.
Sure. So I came to the process, back in, I'm going to say 2017, where I actually read about Canadian Premier League in online with our local newspaper here, the Regina Leader Post. And I thought, that's really interesting. I sort of started to follow the story a little bit, and then actually picked up the phone and called the CPL office, and they sort of asked me what my aspirations were, how I would like to be involved. I told them, I'm a sports fan, and my involvement would be to try and get something going here in Saskatchewan. They connected me with another group who was looking at doing something in Saskatchewan. And I worked with that group collaboratively for a couple of years. And I was part of, you may have heard, the SK Summer Soccer Series here. Was part of that, and did some work on the ground in organizing that. And that was a very good experience. It just showed that there was a real supporters base here in Saskatchewan, from which we could leapfrog into pro soccer. And then one thing led to another, as most things do. I decided to go my own way, and the group that I was with went theirs. And I kept in contact with CPL, and the folks at CPL said, if you're interested, take a run at this yourself. And so I did, and I kept dialoguing with CPL and the group there, and it was just a lot of planning. I mean, there's an enormous amount of work that goes into trying to do what we're trying to do. Like I said earlier, I've been a part of a couple of businesses that have interest Canada-wide, and I can honestly tell you this is one of the most intricate and complicated things I've ever been involved with. There are so many moving pieces. So it's really easy to say at 60,000 feet, oh yeah, we're going to do soccer. But here in Saskatchewan, we don't even have a pitch to play on yet. So that involves bringing in other groups, and we've signed recently a memorandum of understanding with Prairieland Park in Saskatoon. It's an exhibition agricultural nonprofit corporation, but they sit on 136 acres, about 5 or 6 minutes from downtown Saskatoon, and they're really interested in redeveloping some of their land for a soccer stadium, because they can see that some of the businesses that they're in right now are changing and they need to evolve. And so just bringing them on board has been a long process, a good process, but a long process. So yeah, I would say, if there's 10 steps to this, what we're announcing today is step 2. There's still a lot of work in front of us.
Yeah, I think we did want to ask about, as you mentioned, that pitch to play on, because obviously for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, part of the announcement today was that the agreement in principle does include the notion that you guys will be building a soccer-specific stadium. So just maybe more generally, what kind of vision do you have for this venue? I mean, we've mentioned the location, but just as a stadium, as a venue for a soccer club, what are you kind of picturing?
Sure. So we will, just before I start on that, we will over the course of the next 2-3 weeks begin to post our concept drawings and such, and let everybody know as this stadium project progresses. But at Prairieland Park right now, they've had racing, thoroughbred racing at what they call Marquis Downs since 1960. And Prairieland Park has decided that they're no longer going to be in the thoroughbred racing business, but would like to repurpose that entire facility for a professional soccer stadium. So our conceptual plans are to in part refurbish the old grandstand. It holds outdoors about 800 people, and then there's an indoor viewing area of about another 400. So it holds about 1,200. So we'll try and refurbish that, and then we'll further develop around that seating for, I'm going to say another ideally 4,000. So we hit the ground running with a 4,000 seat stadium at that location, with the opportunity to expand as required. So Right now, it's the Marquee Downs facility at Pearland Park.
And it's something that you're just sort of talking about it there, Al. Like, there's a lot of stadium inspiration to come out of the Canadian Premier League in the last 2 years, even though it's really only been one. Like, for example, you mentioned the horse racing there. That's in Prairieland Park. I think immediately Spruce Meadows. That's a horse jumping, and that's ended up being an incredible stadium, one of the best in the league. And then you think of what they did at Wanderers grounds, like in that modular stadium that, frankly, I hear across the league, people talk about that stadium all the time for how innovative it is and how it makes sense for the spot. Maybe my question is, what you've been, like you said, you had that interest for a couple of years, and seeing what some of the other teams have done, like what exactly are you wanting to pull from those different, those different plans, really?
Well, I mean, you take a little bit of everything and take input from people who have done it before. So, I mean, part of getting to where we're at with the stadium was being able to go out and visit the folks in Calgary at Cavalry and take a look at what they've done at Spruce Meadows and how they built the grandstands and their lighting systems and those sorts of things. Talk to them a little bit about, whether or not you go field turf or grass, the pros and cons of irrigation on grass versus field turf. There's just so many things that go into it. The common areas, what you're going to do with concessions and F&B, food and beverage, and those sorts of things. So we're at the conceptual stage right now, but and I don't want to get into too many details because I've got partners in this. So where we go are certainly subject to change as we work our way through this. But right now, we see a little bit of what the Wanderers have done, a little bit of what they've done out in Calgary. West Hills has been interesting as they've developed their stadium out there. We'll draw a little bit from that. So we'll take the best of what we think the league has done so far and try and give the folks in Saskatoon a real good experience. I mean, at the end of the day, we're in the entertainment business. You come to the stadium. Of course, you want to watch your club play and you want to support them, but you want to feel comfortable. You want families to feel comfortable. So we have to be able to build a facility that caters to not only the hardcore soccer supporter, but we need the casual sports fan to feel comfortable there. We need families to feel comfortable there. So it's going to be a whole bunch of everything. And I know I'm being very non-specific. But
that's the beauty of these things at this point, Alan.
Yeah. It's. I mean, we have a blank page right now, and so we'll do the best we can. And like I say, we fully intend as we go through the process and develop our plans to post everything online and be transparent with the folks in Saskatoon and Canada as to what we're trying to achieve. So I think you could probably come back and look at our website or our social media in 3 or 4 weeks, and I think we'll have the first concept design posted up there.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of being non-specific, this question probably doesn't have an answer, but I think it's the one that most people might ask first when they hear this news, is about the timeline, right? Because I know that there's nothing set in stone. There's a lot of moving pieces, but is there anything you can give us about a rough ballpark of what kind of timeline we're looking at here for when fans are going to be able to watch a Saskatchewan soccer team play in the CPL?
Sure. So ideally, we would like to be part of the league and playing in 2023. That's a very ambitious timeline, given what you need to do for a stadium. And realistically speaking, to meet that timeline, we're going to have to start construction of the stadium probably no later than the end of second quarter in 2022. We'll try and be aggressive and assertive on our timelines rather than just sort of relax and say, look, it's 2024. Because if we say it's 2024, we know for sure we're not doing it in 2023. So we'll be assertive, but we'll be realistic as well.
And then, you mentioned the Saskatchewan Summer Series, and we've gone a long time in this podcast without mentioning the fact that there were 3,000, 4,000 fans at a game, in Saskatchewan in the last couple of years. can you maybe just sort of speak to you were obviously there, you experienced that, like how did that sort of impact you even personally, and to see that support, right? Because frankly, no other potential Canadian Premier League market, I say potential now, Saskatchewan is one, had done something like that, right?
Yeah. Well, what struck me, and still does to this very day, is that we had a team of local players with some others from out of province that came to join the team, but we were playing, for all intents and purposes, with unknown players against unknown opposition with nothing on the line. So I mean, and then to have 2,500, 3,000 people show up and support us, it was absolutely phenomenal. Because like I say, there was we were not competing in a league. We weren't competing for a trophy. We weren't competing for anything other than to showcase some of our Saskatchewan talent, but more importantly, just try and gauge exactly what kind of support we could achieve. And it was unbelievable support. I was mildly surprised as we worked our way through it, because as we were going through it, you could see the support starting to build game to game. But we did a lot of unique things, I mean, we had pre-game entertainment, we had post-game entertainment. We tried to simulate as best we could what our game day operations might be if we were in the CPL. And I do say we. I mean, I was just 1/3 of that process. There were two other gentlemen who deserve a lot of credit for the work that was done at the SK Summer Soccer Series.
Mm-hmm. I think of sports in Saskatchewan, and I see images of I mean, as we've mentioned already, Riders games, and I think it was a while ago, but I think back to that World Juniors tournament that was there, where it's just all packed stadiums and passionate fans. We know that there are passionate soccer fans in Saskatchewan. I mean, I think Marty and I remember a bunch of people from the Bridge City firm showing up at our office one day.
Yeah.
With all scarves. I mean, go ahead, Marty.
I went for coffee. I think I was actually by myself, and as I'm walking back up to the office, I see like 4 or 5 people wearing Saskatchewan like kits, and I was just like, oh, I guess they're here. That was when I think that was, I didn't know if they were going to do some sort of mutiny or force their way to have a team or something. I couldn't tell, but it was. And I think that was when Canada was actually playing in Toronto against, maybe that was Cuba in the Nations League. But Charlie, sorry to interrupt, but I kind of where you're getting at, right?
Yeah.
With the support, right? The support out there is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean that's. Sorry, go right ahead. I'm just kind of asking if you guys have, any, it's early, I don't know if you've coordinated or talked to them at all yet, but I mean, what you're kind of hoping for with this fan engagement.
We're planning on doing some fan engagement post, I guess, after we get our release out into the public domain.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, the supporters groups in Saskatoon and the youth soccer and adult soccer are integral parts of what we're trying to achieve, and they need to be. We need them on side. We need Soccer Saskatchewan on side. Just back to the Bridge City and the week pool. I took in the second leg of the championship in Calgary. I don't know if you guys were there, but I walk into the stadium and they're at the far end, draped over the edge of the stands is a big "We Want In" CPL sign, and I'm sitting there at halftime talking to some of the guys, and the commissioner walks by, and they're giving him grief about no franchise in Saskatoon. So I mean, all in good fun, but very passionate nonetheless. So yes, they will be a big component to our success in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, people in Saskatchewan just like running into the CPL head office, just saying, it's our time right now. Can we please? So, and I mean, to close out, like I said, Al, there's so many different things to talk about. I'm glad you brought up the stadium, and hopefully we'll get more of that in the coming weeks and in those drawings and stuff. But I mean, have you thought of like name, colors, like what about that? Like there's obviously a lot to think about, and you're just, you're, I guess, employee number one at this point, but what do we, give me something. What are you thinking?
Yeah. We given thought to names and given thought to colors, but I think we got to take this in small bite sizes. And the reality of the situation is, no venue, no team. So we need to focus squarely on getting a stadium developed that the city of Saskatoon can be proud of, that the CPL can be proud of. And once we get that behind us, we'll turn our attention more seriously to naming a team and colors and kits and that sort of thing. But I think, just to circle back to supporters and such, it would be my intent that we involve them in that. I don't think we're arbitrarily going to just come out and say this is the name of the club and these are the colors. And Saskatchewan's very, very community based, and we're going to have to talk the talk and walk the walk. And if we want community support, and we want the supporters groups to be behind us and all the clubs, I think that they should get an opportunity to chime in on what the Saskatoon colors should be, and maybe what the name should be. So look forward to that in due course.
Oh yeah, that's some of the fun. We have to ask.
Yeah,
I think
of course.
Okay, Alan Simpson of Living Sky Sports and Entertainment. Maybe I'll just give you the floor here to address Canadian soccer, Saskatchewan soccer fans. Any closing thoughts?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for taking the time to have me on and help sort of spread the word. Very much appreciated. I would say thank you. It's been a pleasure working to date with the folks at CPL. They've been very helpful. It's been a pleasure working with folks in Saskatoon to help get this off the ground, especially at Prairieland Park, and look forward to working with them. And look forward to touching base more closely with the supporters groups and clubs. I know some might be upset that this was kept so quiet, but they are so passionate that if there was a whisper of what we were doing, this would have been out in the public domain. And sometimes the best way to do these things is just to get about your work quietly. And that's what we've done. And I hope people will accept that. And we'll do our level best to try and deliver on this.
Like you said, Al, step 2 of 10. So we're just getting started here. Okay, Alan, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.